I'm Glenn McGinnis, and this is Outburst. On the program, will a national Pharmacare plan impact your life?
Sure, my taxes will go up.
I think that is something that we need.
And I think there's a lot of people who can't afford medicine, so yeah.
It's not everyone can afford healthcare nowadays, so I think it would go a long way.
But first, after fallout surrounding the ArriveCan app and reports that more money is being spent without proper government oversight, Canadians are paying attention to how much the government spends their hard-earned tax money more than ever. Another fear is that government spending is outpacing government revenue. In last year's federal budget, the Liberal government promised to rein in spending to help ensure that taxpayer money would be spent responsibly. So we took to the streets to ask Canadians where the federal government should turn off the taps when it comes to expenditures. Our question: in what areas should the government reduce spending?
You know, everything's been cut to the skeleton, so is there anything left to cut? I don't think there's anything left to cut. I don't know about you. Certainly isn't on environmental protection. Don't cut that. There's all kinds of things that's been, the patient's basically DOA, so there's nothing left to cut except life support.
I believe, this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but once again, funding foreign conflicts, I think we have a lot of our own affairs to deal with housing, the homeless and opioid crisis around here, that Canada needs a lot more attention. And it's not to say that we don't help our neighbors and internationally, but we need to arguably focus on a lot of our own problems here first.
People talk about government trying to waste money all the time. That's not true. They're using their money as best they can. And I don't think they should cut back in any particular area. They have to use their money to invest in the country and expand the country. Anything that's not growing is dying. So keep the country growing, keep the country moving, and keep doing what they're doing.
Well, they can reduce spending on oil and gas and basically quite a few issues with homelessness. They could be spending more, but they seem to be putting the money out in other areas that just get wasted. It seems that billions are spent, billions.
Government should reduce the taxes, and the money we are paying, it should be invested on us, not outside of the country.
I'm not really sure. That's one I haven't really given much thought, to be honest, in which way they should reduce spending. I think they spend a lot on themselves, too much, to be totally honest with you. But I think in whatever way they could cut taxes for the average Canadian and make life more affordable, especially with inflation and high prices, that would be where they could help every Canadian out.
With the reduction of spending, it's a lot of new infrastructure that I'm finding that they're focusing on, and while that is important for communities and whatnot, it's expenditures that we don't need currently, especially with how much Canadians are struggling. I find that they should be putting their efforts more into helping the community with, rising costs of groceries and rent and all of that fun stuff, rather than infrastructure, because I don't know how many new buildings or new apartments or anything like that we really need.
It's hard to say. I think a lot of money gets wasted on contracts, to be honest. And contractors aren't always held accountable for where that money is being spent. I look at the ArriveCan app that just came out, 59 million was spent on it from the initial 8-point-something million. I just want contractors to be held accountable for where that money is being spent and why there's delays and why millions of extra money gets spent.
Well, right off the top, they can stop doing new programs and focus on the ones they already have. But if you're going to cut back on something, it seems logical to cut back on all the ones that aren't required, the special interest, the activities that cost a lot of money but don't produce as much value as they could. And I'm not saying cut things out, I'm saying cut back.
Well, you probably should spend less on money on politicians for increase of wages and these type of things, and more on the people right now, and programs on helping the people.
I think if you just slow down on the amount of things that you spend frivolously on and actually, put some money into things that are needed, healthcare and so on, it makes a big difference,
I get concerned when we have corporate subsidies or areas that have ties to the government. So that's where I would like to see the spending reduced.
Well, I think you just have to walk around this city and the government is well overstaffed with a lot of areas, There's probably 5 people that do one person's job in the government. It's not the same as the corporate world.
Within itself, the government needs to cut spending within itself. They need to trim back their wages, their salaries, and get back to the people on the streets.
We've been hearing a lot more about measles lately as cases have been popping up in different parts of the country, and the fear is that trend may continue to rise. Measles was actually eliminated in Canada back in 1998 after a series of vaccination programs. Public health agencies have been advising Canadians to be vigilant about getting their vaccinations because this is highly contagious. So, is this something you worry about? We took to the streets with this question.
Are you concerned about measles outbreaks in Canada?
I've heard a little bit about it. I haven't been following it that much. My kids are a little bit older now, so some of those things seem a little bit less impactful to our family right now, but it is concerning to see something spreading that probably shouldn't be and could seriously impact some of our younger children especially.
I'm not personally concerned about the measles outbreak in Canada, but I'm certainly concerned for those who are vulnerable to it. And I'm not exactly sure what the situation is on vaccinations for that, but I'm concerned for those vulnerable, that's for sure.
I think COVID was a big overreaction kind of thing, so I believe that we've learned from that, hopefully, and that we don't repeat the same kind of thing. So I'm not too worried about it, especially measles is a vaccinated disease here in Canada, but I know a lot of people are also not veering away from that kind of path, the vaccination path too, which is a little spooky for me, but yeah.
I'm concerned because I feel like if they get it at daycare, I think they said it was 21 days until they could return or something like that. So that would impact us because not being able to work for 21 days obviously isn't realistic or going to work. So yeah.
You know what, I didn't put much thought on this yet, but if there is an outbreak, yeah, it should be concerning. Like, our healthcare system is not working the way it should be.
It does worry me sometimes, especially going on public, because I don't want to have to deal with that with my son or with me or with anyone else in our family. I have quite a few immunocompromised family members, so definitely a little bit more worrisome than now that I know about it.
Definitely, I'm concerned just because it's, like you say, it's a measles. It's definitely going to affect people if not well taken care of. So, and measures has to be put in place to just have this eradicated totally or have a way of limiting it.
I got a vaccine for measles when I was a kid. I got a booster 5 years ago. I got bigger problems than measles. Measles is not going to end my life. I'm good.
I'm not concerned. People know what to do. They know what the right thing is to do, and that's to get vaccinated.
No.
Why?
Because I'm vaccinated. So if I'm vaccinated from small town northern Ontario, I like to believe that there's the herd immunization thing happening.
No. Everybody has access to the vaccines. We have polio, mumps, measles. Those vaccines have been successful and we don't have any concerns.
I am not, although I've been hearing more about it in the news recently.
Why are you not concerned?
I would hope that the medical system can take care of this. Maybe, I don't know if it's necessary to bring back vaccinations or what, but being aware of it's the first step.
I am a little concerned. I mean, there are vaccines for this for a reason, so I really think that it is an area of concern, yes.
A little bit.
Measles is a problem, but it's not something that's out of hand. But personally, I think it's not as big a problem as we're making it out to be.
Yeah, I'm concerned. Yeah, sure. Because it affects children and everyone's health, and we don't want it to spread because then it gets more difficult to control. Yeah.
Well, I think with the reduced amount of vaccinations taking place, I think all of those herd immunizations that are no longer being injected could, absolutely create outbreaks. And yeah, I think Alberta had one a few years ago, and they had the tent set up. And
I don't really know a lot about measles in Canada and the outbreak. I think that if there is an issue, then we should be cracking down on it, like how we did sort of for COVID, I guess.
Not necessarily at the moment, but I think I'm worried about any sort of outbreak in Canada, especially since COVID-19. You can never be too sure when these things are going to arise or happen. COVID showed us that, if anything.
Not particularly. If I've learned anything over the last 3 years, it's that a lot of times we can get kind of maybe hyped up or just a little bit overly concerned to the point of being unreasonable about things. So I think if we're reasonable, most people have their shots and take proper precautions or whatnot. If you're not, so no, I don't. I'm not concerned about that.
Most Canadians would have measles protection, I would assume, I would hope. And by the way, it's effective.
Yes, very concerned. Why is that? Well, for one thing, I have a great-grandchild on the way, and with these measles outbreaks, it shouldn't happen. My wife's a nurse, and she said that with vaccinations, this was all controlled, but now people, especially anti-vaxxers, are going against this. So kids that are going to school with measles are passing it on to others. It's unnecessary.
Not really.
Why not?
We have a great medical system. If we can make it through COVID, we can make it through anything.
What is the minimum age required for a person to be appointed to the Senate? 25, 30, or 40?
40.
Wow.
25? I don't know.
We're going to go with 25.
I don't know that one. If I had to guess, I would say 30.
30.
30.
25. It's a guess.
I'm going to go 30.
Absolutely correct.
Oh, is it? Good, thank you.
In order to be eligible to become a senator in Canada, an individual must be a minimum of 30 years of age and no more than 75 years of age. They also have to be a Canadian citizen, live in the province or territory for which they represent, own real estate worth at least $4,000 in the province they are appointed, and have a net worth of at least $4,000. In total, 105 senators represent every region of Canada.
According to the National Advisory Council on Poverty, underprivileged children and seniors make up 24% of those living below the poverty line in Canada. With food and shelter insecurities still prominent in this country, bringing these people above the poverty line continues to be a difficult endeavor. We sent our cameras out to ask Canadians what more could be done to help those who are economically vulnerable. Our question:
What could be done to help lift underprivileged children and seniors above the poverty line?
Oh, that's a good point. I mean, something that I've always thought was a good idea is this minimum income concept, so that people can take charge of their own lives to have a reasonable life, even if they don't have a good job, if they can't get a good job.
I still think a lot of our issues are with the housing. I think if people had more of their money towards basic things rather than their housing costs, I think that would help a lot of people, especially children and seniors.
I mean, better education on finance would be a huge thing that Canadians lack all around. There's no financial literacy whatsoever in schools. That's kind of where it starts, is teaching kids or newcomers to Canada how finances work in this country. You know, we're great with immigration. We're not great on teaching people how to use what we have in this country. You know, it's very difficult to get ahead if you don't understand what you don't know.
How about seniors?
I mean, seniors is, you've just got to have better senior programs, but I mean, you wouldn't need that if you had proper financial literacy to begin with for kids. If people got taught how to be financial literate from the get-go, you wouldn't need these social programs.
Within Canada, there is so much. Going back to the original question regarding salaries within the government, those could be reduced. There are so many things that could be done within the hospitals, for seniors, for children, especially with healthcare, dental. Why are seniors getting extra dental care when you can prevent all this dental care when they're children, and they scrap that? There's so many things that could be done. I could go on for hours.
I believe education's a big thing. I think education's a big issue in this country in general. I think it would help both children and the elderly, just understanding not just institutional education, but also casual education, I think would assist a lot in the poverty line. I think also just, again, I'm going to compare to back home as well. In Egypt, a lot of people learn how to do things, as stupid and little as that is people will be able to make money doing anything. And now it's a whole new implementation in Canada of like social media and be an entrepreneur and do all these things. But I think the basic skills of just practical skills, again, going back to education, could help a lot in the development of poverty especially.
Have the grocery prices come down, have more control over, food, have a better distribution of the food from other stores that throw it out. Less waste would be a big thing, and it would help greatly.
It's a tough question. Once again, it's really subjective. I think making sure they have access to the proper communal resources, whether that be like for kids, any kind of familial support, education supports, mental health supports, and same with seniors, because they're also a vulnerable group too. So I think those three things would probably suffice for both groups, in my opinion.
Personally, I think we need a new government that's going to step in and do that. I'm a conservative, but I think that right now Trudeau is dumping a lot of money into things that doesn't need to be dumped into. So I think it should be more spread throughout Canada. I know a lot of our money is leaving the country, going to other countries, so I think we need to focus on here in Canada.
I feel like there's so much to do. But just the cost, the cost has to go down in everything, and living costs, groceries, the simple things, need to go down in cost because it's affecting everyone.
Well, it might sound corny, but fellow feeling and compassion for your fellow man. It doesn't come with laws and regulations or anything like that. It comes from within individuals. And when we really start to care for one another in the way we should, then I think everybody's living standards could be elevated.
Profit margin on groceries should definitely be something that we need to take a look at, because it's crazy. I know I have a family of 3, and I think my husband said we spent about $2,100 on groceries last month, and there's 3 of us. And I'm fortunate that we are able to afford that, but there are people who can't, and we need more programs that are going to help our Canadians and our seniors and our most vulnerable, our young children. So more outreach programs, definitely, having more community drives so that we can help people out, donating lots of food, and again, caps on the profit margin, because we can't do anything without the government stepping in to kind of keep those businesses in check and corporations. So
I think just, and as difficult as it is, a reevaluation of these programs and what a living wage and income is in this day and age, as it's a very different situation. People can make a 15-minute video, go on YouTube, suddenly be famous and rich. It's not everybody. The rest of us have to still try to make ends meet with things like minimum wage, which, as they have increased it, might not be keeping up with the level that inflation is rising.
Back in February, the federal Liberals and NDP reached an agreement which would give every Canadian access to free diabetes medication and birth control. It's all a part of that supply and confidence agreement between the two parties, which would guarantee the Liberals' NDP support in the House of Commons during confidence votes. The Liberal government described this as a huge step forward, but stopped short to committing to a full-fledged Pharmacare program, which would cover even more prescription medications. So we took to the streets to ask Canadians how this will affect them in the months and years to come. Our question:
will a national Pharmacare plan impact your life?
To be honest, I don't know how it will impact us, but it doesn't matter about how it impacts just us. How it impacts society is terribly important, and I think it's a definite good move. I think that is something that we need and something that, the people really have earned and deserve, because when you take care of your own people first, good things happen, and that's what we all want to happen. We have friends that live in the United States, and we've talked to them about it, and they are absolutely envious of our social networking, and I'm a proud Canadian to say that.
No, it won't, because I have private health insurance.
Personally, I don't need any pharmaceuticals, so luckily it wouldn't impact my life either way. My mother's diabetic and needs insulin, and she's on old age pension, so it could affect family members of mine.
A national Pharmacare plan I don't think will have much of an impact on me. I'm a senior, and I'm lucky enough to have a drug plan from, I worked in the civil service. So for me personally, I don't expect it to have really any impact at all. But I agree with the concept, certainly.
The National Pharmacare Plan, so far as I understand it, is diabetes medication and birth control at the moment, with neither of which are going to impact my life in any way, shape, or form. I am looking forward to it, because I have no coverage of any kind. But they're going to be so selective in the drugs they include, I don't ever think it's going to benefit me.
For us, I have private medical. I do work for the shipyard, so I'm covered, but there's other people that don't have that opportunity. And as everybody knows right now, with the influx that's happening across the world, it would actually be best for everybody if there was one, and you didn't have to fill out papers every year to do so. If you have a change, obviously the government can track it with your SIN number. That's why it's there for. So I feel a lot of people would benefit from having the opportunity to have some kind of health care, yes.
Yes, the National Pharmacare program will affect my life. I'm currently covered by private insurance, but that expires when I reach 85, which is in August. And so I have to then rely on Pharmacare and my own resources, which is not great, when I need medical care. And anything the government can add to that is a bonus for me. I've always said in this country we do not have a national health system. We have a provincial health system, and it's different in every province. So if I move to Ontario, I have to get a new health card, and I can get things done there that I can't get done here, and vice versa. So it needs to be a national. As a Canadian citizen, I should be able to get the same treatment when I go to British Columbia as I get here. But that's not the case. And so I think, yes, anything they can do to improve the health system, absolutely.
Will it affect my life? I don't think so. Mainly just because of the kind of healthcare plan that I personally have. But I'm sure there are still lots of people out there who would be for or against.
I mean, doesn't sound bad to me. If we are trying to get medicine to people who need them, why not? It's probably going to put a little more strain on the taxpayers. I see that side of things personally as well, but if we can find ways, we can mitigate that.
Yeah, absolutely. It would impact my life. Being able to have access to proper medicine, at cost would be really beneficial. Definitely in my life, I've had a lot of periods of, unemployment and stuff like that. So, having access to these things would be really good. A good thing for our society, I think.
Well, I think a national Pharmacare plan may not necessarily impact me directly, but I think it would impact a bunch of other people who need it. You know, it's not everyone can afford healthcare nowadays, so I think it would go a long way.
Sure, my taxes will go up. I mean, look, we'd all like to have a program where everything is free, even groceries, but it's not viable. It doesn't make any economic sense.
Probably not my life very much, but it impact many people that I know in a significant way. So I think it'd be great to have a national Pharmacare program.
I don't believe it will. I don't believe it will. I don't know if it's something that I want to see happen. I honestly have been in healthcare on and off for the last 15 years, and healthcare is not something to mess with. It should be equal treatment for everyone, regardless of their economic status.
Not directly. I am very grateful for my healthcare plan right now, but that doesn't mean I don't support it for those who need access to diabetes medication and like everything around it. Like, I absolutely support it.
Yeah, I mean, having access to things like this for people that need it is important, definitely. You can go over the top for sure, but I mean, people who are in need and sick should have access to things like that, and plans to support it are not a bad thing, I don't think.
No, I don't think so, but I'm pretty privileged, right? So I already have coverage with my job. So I count myself as being privileged in that sense, because there's a lot of people like my mom even doesn't have any sort of coverage. So something like that would definitely impact her, but as a middle income person, it wouldn't impact me the most.
Yeah, I don't think it's, we saw it unroll last week, and I don't think it's going to change much for us, ourselves. So we have a drug plan through my wife's work, and I'm self-employed, so I pay for everything myself. So.
Thanks for watching this episode of Outburst on CPAC. If you have any comments about this show or any other show, you can find us on social media. You can also find us on our website at www.cpac.ca. I'm Glenn McGuinness, and on behalf of my colleagues at the Cable Public Affairs Channel, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.